It's Sunday night once again, and Scorecard is back on your screens on Citi TV. My name is Benjamin Nketia. You out there, greetings to you wherever you are watching us from right inside Ghana, from around the continent, Africa, and from anywhere in the world. Please do send us your thoughts. We'll have our text and WhatsApp lines on your screens there, so you can share your thoughts with us. It's been a really interesting weekend of sports. In the Ghana Premier League, it's Kumasi Asante Kotoko embroiled in more controversy. On the foreign front, Liverpool were up against the old rivals Everton. It was a pretty straightforward win, but also without it came with its own, issues on the side, VAR and whatnot. And then we had a really good game between Chelsea and Arsenal. I'm sure Chelsea fans feel like that game was a defeat because they had it in the bag. They could have closed it off some way, somehow. They didn't. They coughed it up and managed to give Arsenal a draw in the end. We'll talk about Barca. We'll talk about Real Madrid. A lot to unpack on the show on this edition of Scorecard. Let's take a quick turnaround. We'll come back and I'll introduce my guests. Welcome back. This is Scorecard here on Citi TV. My good friends are here. Coach Christopher Nimley and Edwin Kwakofi. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's good to have you back. It's good to have you back.
It's good to be back,
oh
man.
Boy, Obodai did a wonderful job.
Good idea. Solid.
Top guy.
It's cold out there, man.
No, but you got yourself warmed, man.
Oh, yeah.
Should we go there?
No, don't do that.
Then let's go.
I'm not sure what you're driving at, but don't be mischievous.
I can make.
It's fine. Let's get into the football right away. Let's start off with some Ghana Premier League. Kumasi Asante Kotoko were up against Nations FC. It was a game where Kumasi Asante Kotoko were supposed to have a walk in the park. Some way, somehow, a penalty at the end stirred up a lot of controversy. Let's get the game itself and then also what happened in the aftermath of that penalty award. So I'm not even sure what's going on with that penalty awarded to Nations FC. I'm not sure if it was a handball. I'm not sure if it was the incident with the goalkeeper. Very strange circumstances.
Could we look at it again?
I think we should go back to that video just to check out that penalty sequence because I'm not sure exactly what the penalty was being awarded for. Now, if you look at this again,
this was.
I think this is the Kotoko.
I think the replay.
Yeah.
So let's be patient and let's get there and let's see because I really want to see what happened.
Very interesting.
It was not clear here. I think it was the replay. The replay showed it better.
Now the referee is pointing to the spot at this point. Nations FC seem convinced that there's a.
I think that was the first foul.
And then, what incident exactly causes this penalty?
It looked like it came off the Kotoko defender's hand after it hit his foot.
Yes.
Oh,
so it rebounded by.
But that is a very bad penalty to give.
Yeah, I looking at it again. If you go through the sequence, I think there was a first infringement.
Yeah.
That should have been awarded to Kotoko.
Yep.
Because there was
when there was a push on their player. Yeah.
On the defender. The referee should have awarded that because that could have resulted in a terrible crash between the goalkeeper and
I
the
thought
defender.
that's what they should have stopped the game for.
Exactly. He didn't do that. Now, when you look at what he's even awarding as a penalty, it came off the Kotoko player's foot before
it hit his
hand. And the moment that is the sequence, you cannot give that.
Yeah.
You cannot give that. Look, and for me, we've come a long way trying to make sure that our league stands out among the best leagues in Africa. So many things are going wrong. Look, the coverage of our league, Edwin, is so bad. It makes it practically impossible to analyze it.
Yeah.
Who are the cameramen? Is this the Star Time?
Yeah, Star Times
provide
all the logistics for these things.
But if you look at the quality of the visuals that are being given, how do you sit and analyze this? Practically impossible.
There was a game in midweek where there was practically one camera angle for like 15 minutes.
Can you imagine that?
15 minutes.
And you see, these are the sort of, this program in particular, most people sit and wait.
Yeah, just to watch highlights.
To watch highlights for us to critically do the tactical breakdown of the team. I'm sitting here, I really don't know what to talk about.
Yeah.
Because of the very bad coverage, very bad visuals. Look, we have to improve. If this is the way it's going to go, then it becomes practically important. We have to move away and not even talk about the Ghana Premier League.
Yeah.
Because this, of course, look at the patronage, it was more or less a local derby. There was the Dr. Che factor.
Yeah.
And everybody wanted to see.
This
Nation
was
FC.
Kessie.
Yes, Nation FC have spoken big that they were going to beat Kumasa Sante Kotoko. Kotoko also felt that, come on, you are young brothers, you better behave. You see, the tension, the euphoria around the game.
Good hype around the game
hype.
in the end.
And then if we are going to come here and not have
and don't forget that people pay a good amount to subscribe to these games on a weekly, on a pay-per-view level.
How do you give us such footages as visuals for us to look at and analyze? It's very bad. Look, but the only thing I want to talk about is the level of hooliganism and then misbehavior, intolerance of the Kotoko fans. We are told that they did not only protest, but there were damages caused to the facility. This, by far, is one of the best grounds in the country. This is an individual sweat. Dr. Che alone put up this stadium there. And what is it about? It's about just a goal. Just a goal. I have sat here and I said, looking at it again, it shouldn't have been given. But if the Kotoko fans care to know, in the very first game of this season, when they played Heart of Lions at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium, Heart of Lions scored a perfect goal against them.
Disallowed.
It was disallowed. Why didn't they rip off all the chairs and the thing at the Baba Yara Stadium? So there will be times it will go in your favor.
Yep.
There will be times it will go against
your favor.
We've gotten to the stage where, as supporters, we need to behave and behave well. When it goes in your favor, you accept it.
Yeah.
If it goes against you, you move on.
Yeah.
Because you see, there's the human element to this game. If they don't know, one of the definition of what sports is, we say sports is human. And for the fact that it is human, there are bound to be some little errors here and there. But if you look at it, no matter which way it goes, it really doesn't mean you should take the laws into your own hands. But look, this is typical Ghana. But if this were to happen elsewhere, there'll be proper footages zoomed in, and those individuals will be identified and they'll be picked up and dealt with. Because as it stands, everybody saw that it was the Kotoko fans who caused those damage. And we are waiting to see what the FA will say, the statement they will release. They should make sure they should release a statement on the physical assault of Seydou Adamo before they release any statement on this matter.
No, very serious.
Yes, I'm very serious.
That's very important.
Yes, because if they until they release a statement on the beatings of the sports journalist Seydou Adamo in America, they should not release any statement on this matter, because if they do, then some of us will have serious issues with them.
Let's move on to the foreign front. Let's get to some Premier League action. Let's start off with that Liverpool game against Everton. It produced the goals. Mohamed Salah was at it again. We'll do back-to-back highlights. After that, we'll get to Manchester City. They were also up in their own game. They managed to win that game by 2-1. Jeremy Doku, of course, was on show this weekend. So back-to-back highlights. We'll come in studio and discuss. Welcome back. Let's get into that game between Everton and Liverpool. Let me start with you, Edwin. So Liverpool got their 2-0 win, but a lot of people are looking back and saying, looks like you are getting handed some favorable decisions because some decisions went against you when you played Tottenham. How does that tie into things? Inconsistency with VAR and Liverpool eventually getting their win.
Look, Liverpool have been hard done by some decisions in the past. And of course, when such high-profile decisions go against you, one might say that the referees are more lenient going forward, but I don't think that was the case in this game. Was that a penalty? Yes, it was a penalty. What other decision? Was it a red card? Yes, it was a red card. I, sitting here, could have told you that 38-year-old Ashley Young would not cope, whether it was against Mo Salah on one side or Luis Diaz on the other. There was no way he was going to be able to keep up with their pace or trickery. So putting him there was a bad mistake in the first place. him getting a red card was the least surprising thing to me. What was surprising was that Liverpool took until 70 minutes to get a goal. And they say that teams are more dangerous or they are more difficult to break through when they go down to 10 men. And I think Everton did well to keep the scores down until then. But once that goal went in, once that Michael Keane penalty was given, that was it. There was no way Everton were going to get back into it. Before the red card, there was no way their attack would get past that Liverpool defense. They didn't have any bites. There's no creativity in the team. Even when they do get the chances, they tend to miss them. They've so far missed 21 big chances in the Premier League. They are not getting goals against the weaker teams. There was no way they were going to get goals against Liverpool. And defensively, against Liverpool's attack, it was only a matter of time. And once that red card happened, I was waiting until the goals would flow in. It took a while, but Mo Salah, what a player, man. We talk about him all the time, comparing to other players, but he's such a special player. He's one that you can't define. And if your team is not playing well, if your team needs goals, he's one player you can call on. And Liverpool have been able to call on him for a few years now, and he's delivered, not just from the penalty spot, but even when you felt that the game was petering out, he still had the energy to make that run along with Darwin Núñez, the desire to get into the penalty box to find that goal. And you don't find players with this much passion after all the success that he's had with Liverpool. His consistency is crazy. And I feel that Liverpool have been probably the most exciting offensive team in the Premier League. Defensively, that's where their issues are, and we talk about this every week. But judging on their play going forward, this team should be challenging for the league. They just need to sort out that back four or back five or whichever formation they decide to play. And that's the only way they are going to keep up with a team like Man City or Spurs.
Coach, talk to me about the difficulty in breaking down a 10-man team, because look, at a point, I thought Liverpool were not going to score. They didn't look like they were going to score. Balls were getting into the box. It was just very half-hearted efforts. I'm not sure what was going on there.
You see, normally, when a team go a man down, the message is sent to every player that we all need to do extra. A +1 of what we would have done if it was 11v11. So there's that natural message given to them. And then tactically too, as a coach, you need to respond. So this is what Sean Dyche did. After the red card, he took off the left-footed player, I've forgotten his name. Once he took him off.
Mikolenko?
No, not Mikolenko. The one he brought from Burnley.
Ben Mee?
No, not Ben Mee. He plays, I've forgotten his name. Oh my God.
McGinn?
No, not McGinn.
Dwight McNeil.
McNeil.
Yeah.
Correct. So he took him off. And once he took him off, he brought on Michael Keane. So instead of they were initially 4 at the back, they went 5 at the back. Although Ashley Young got center, but he withdrew, he brought in, and then they went 5 at the back, then 3 in the middle, and all those guys in the middle too, all sat back, and there was only Calvert-Lewin in front of them. And they were playing very deep. Normally, when you play very deep and you have more men across, your opponent tend to play with width. But when they stretch the play, because you have 5 men at the back, you tend to deal with it better. And when the ball shifts and there's that diagonal movement, the 3 in the middle, together with the striker who also dropped at times, made it 4-5 or 5-4. So you always have men behind the ball. So normally, if you want to break them down, you need more technical players. And you could clearly see that Jurgen Klopp, after the first 5-10 minutes in that second half, introduced Elliott, brought on Darwin Núñez. He needed to bring in more attackers who move off the ball and create space. But look, it would have been even much more difficult if Michael Keane had not behaved stupidly. I think the fact that he had his hand stretched out like that every day, all day, that is a penalty. And I was wondering, what was he thinking about? Because at the time, they were doing fine. It's very typical training routine where at times you say, okay, we are going to go defenders against what? Attackers. There are times where you shorten the defenders or reduce their number, increase the number of the attacking team, or vice versa. Here was the case where Liverpool had more attacking players on the pitch. Everton had more. But in terms of numbers, Liverpool had one-man advantage. So all he needed was to keep his calm. And look, Konate should have been sent off. I think that is where, and at the time, if he had been sent off,
the complexion
Liverpool
of the game
was leaving 1-0. As to how he stayed on for an offense very similar to what Ashley Young did. He had already been booked, and then he committed, because Ashley Young had already been booked. His first foul, he got booked. A foul that I didn't think was a yellow card. Was even a yellow card. His second foul, he got sent off. Konate got booked, and then he committed something even more serious than to what Ashley Young did, and then he stayed on. So I understand when people are saying that there's lots of inconsistency now when it comes to games involving Liverpool. Are they trying to what? More or less satisfy Jurgen Klopp for what happened against Spurs? I mean, we all have to move on. The error had already been committed. As a body, the refereeing association, you should look back and make sure you don't repeat the bad, not to favor anybody. If there's a need to punish, you punish, because after all, that game wasn't Aston Villa versus what? Liverpool. It was Spurs against Liverpool. Why do you punish Villa for something that they had no control about? So that is very, very unfair.
Anyway, let's get to the Manchester City game. City winning 2-1. Again, a game that looked like it was done and dusted for them. They some way also somehow managed to make it a very shaky close out to the encounter. Brighton didn't think they would probably get in. It was almost 2-2. I'm sure if there was more time, Brighton probably would have had something to say about this game.
Probably, but this season, City they've eked out wins. They've not been very convincing a lot of the time. But the important thing is they still get the 3 points. In this game, I think Pep really showed why he is such a highly sought-after manager. Brighton went with their best midfield. What I believe their best midfield in Baleba and Pascal Gross. Pep counted that not just with Rodri, but added John Stones to that midfield, making it an even more solid midfield. And of course, once you have Alvarez and Bernardo Silva, who is very willing to work, very willing to drop back and add to that midfield, they overloaded that midfield. So in the first half, Man City were very much on top. Probably should have added a couple more goals. They got the 2. But as you said, they seem to take their eye off the ball a lot, especially this season. Some might say that, well, they've won the treble. What else is there to go for? Their hearts are not in it as much as it was last season. So, but I think that Brighton improved in the second half, and that helped as well. You had players like Mitoma actually driving at the fullback. You had Ansu Fati coming in, adding to the attack. A lot of players actually improved their levels in the second half. Unfortunately, they couldn't pick up the added goal to get a point out of the game. But Brighton are beginning to worry me. They are conceding lots of goals, and lots of goals early. It's coming in droves. Usually they concede 1, they have the quality to score 2, have the quality to score 3. But these days, it seems they are not scoring as much, but they are conceding way more. And for a team that prides itself on its attacking quality and its solidity defensively, there's no doubt that they are missing a key player in that midfield. Baleba is good, but he needs someone else beside him as well. He is one player, as coach said, he's very good, solid, able to break up play, but able to progress the ball. And as a young player, you need to find that balance between when you have to go forward, when you have to stay back. When they had a player like Caicedo, he was a player who just stood in front of the back four, provided protection. Very few moments he would go forward. But Baleba is a different kind of player, has more attributes to his game, able to move forward. that means that a lot of space is in that midfield, especially when you're facing a Man City that has reinforced that midfield with Rodri, with Bernardo Silva, with John Stones. So I feel that a lot of work needs to be done in that midfield to create a better protection in front of the back four, especially now that they are beginning to leak a lot of goals. Once that happens, you keep leaking more goals, the results keep turning against you, you start losing more games, and you start dropping to a level that people expected Brighton to be at for a few years ago, but they seem to have moved past, and I don't want to see Brighton go down. They are too exciting a team not to see in the top half of the table.
Well, let me just read a few messages before we take a break. There's a lot more analysis to come. This one here is from Manaman Says So from Doma Hinkro says, good evening, Ben and team. Deserving 3 points from Eric Ten Hag and his players yesterday, but they need to improve their performances against City next week. This one here says, Al Hassan, aka Humble Lion from Kaswa, says, tell coach that we, the remaining Man United fans, are begging him to come back and support the team. The glory days will surely come. He just can't leave us like that. Coach, we need you more than Ten Hag, he says.
that is not true. That is not true.
Ike from East Legon says, man, you will win the PL this season. Hey, Charlie. Niamu from Kumase says, good evening, Ben and your crew. I think the ball hits the number 13 player of the number 13 player, Kotoko player in the 18-yard box, and very unfortunate on the part of Kotoko, but I sincerely like the rivalry. At least now there's a Kumasi derby and can't wait for the return match. Okay, I think you're just giving some context to that. Evans from Spintex says, tell coach that after renewing his resignation from United, we the against supporters of Man U, specifically Chelsea, welcome him wholeheartedly.
To where?
Chelsea.
Oh, why could you supported Chelsea?
You don't like the blue side?
Forget it.
Interesting. We'll get back to coach in a bit. Let's take a quick turnaround. When we come back, we'll have our say on that Arsenal versus Chelsea game. We'll look at that United game as well. A lot to chew on scorecard. Stay with us. Let's get into what was probably the game of the round for the English Premier League. It was Chelsea Football Club hosting Arsenal at Stamford Bridge. It was a thrilling 2-2 draw. Chelsea fans, again, like I'm saying, probably felt like this game was a defeat because it was 2-0 at a point. They could have gone 3-0 up. They could have gone 4-0 up. Some way, somehow, the game ended 2-2. Let's check out the highlights. We'll come back in studio and discuss. Wow. A very interesting game. Coach, let me start off with you on this one. Who dropped the ball? Is that Mauricio Pochettino because his team was 2 goals up at a point? Some way he led the opponents back in, or you think that Arteta and Arsenal just had a stronger will to get something out of this game?
I think I will not blame Pochettino for what happened. I rather blame the Chelsea players themselves. There are times where, as players, you need to take up the responsibility. You need to be responsible, because at that time, Arsenal hadn't had a shot on target.
Yeah.
Look, we all didn't see this coming. We were doing the game we did the game on radio, and I did say that I'm expecting Arsenal to go to the bridge and treat Chelsea the way Chelsea had treated them some years ago, because they were the team in form, the proper team ready to go toe-to-toe with the best team in the land, Manchester City. If you can beat Man City, you should be having enough belief that you can go to the bridge and get a result. But Arsenal started the game very, very poorly. And credit must be given to Pochettino and his boys. When I saw the Chelsea shape, I was worried because there wasn't a proper number 9. But the moment the game started, after the first 5-10 minutes, I said, ooh, I think he's gotten it right, because he's made sure that Arsenal will not play the ball through the middle to Odegaard. Because it is when Odegaard is picking the ball high up the pitch, that is where, as a team, they will begin to create all the chances there.
And in fact, so, just like you mentioned, yesterday he was virtually anonymous in the game.
He was very anonymous. Arsenal as a team found it very difficult passing the ball to him. And that, in my view, had to do with the false 9 and the 3 midfielders. Enzo, Caicedo, and then what? Gallagher. Gallagher, truth be told, I think he's beginning to establish himself as one of the key players in that Chelsea setup. So, the game, tactically, Pochettino got it right. Every Chelsea player was ready yesterday. We spoke about the impact of Saka and Martinelli. But yesterday was the game where you say until Cucurella got booked, he had dealt with Saka.
Yeah, he had Saka in stitches.
But the moment he got himself booked, he couldn't get closer to Saka again. Then Saka started getting the better part of him and started influencing the play better. Now, as a manager, you cannot blame Mikel Arteta for the second goal that Chelsea scored. And every goalkeeper who is watching, you see, when the ball is coming from the flanks, as a goalkeeper, you don't go forward. You rather stay in the middle or you come back.
Okay.
If the player decides to go to the first pole, you can see the trajectory of the ball and move forward and punch the ball. But if you are to backpedal, it is a very difficult technique to execute to get it. But there, you are back.
You don't even know where you're going.
You don't even know where you're going. And the starting position of Raya for that Chelsea second goal was absolutely unacceptable. So he paid the price, duly so. Now, Chelsea cruising to a very famous victory. Look, I can imagine the feelings of every Chelsea supporter when it was 2-0 up to the 74th, 75th minute.
Yep.
We were doing a game and I said, look, I don't see Arsenal coming up because they were not creating anything.
Nothing.
Chelsea had compacted, condensed Stamford Bridge like they would normally do when they are in the league and blocked every space in between or in behind their back four. Under no pressure. Then the goalkeeper decided to give the ball away. Credit Declan Rice. That was an absolutely brilliant finish. Very difficult technique.
Yeah.
You may think that the goalkeeper was not in goal.
Yeah.
But if you look at where he struck the ball and the killer, the technique.
I think Declan Rice has a thing for scoring goals. Might be occasional, but he has a thing for scoring
important goals.
Yeah.
And so the moment Arsenal redeemed the goal back, they felt
that
they could rescue it.
Yeah.
Then Arteta brought on and then Pochettino, in my view, tactically he responded. He effected the change that was meant to see the game to the end with Chelsea winning 2-1. The problem is that at this level, you don't switch off.
Yeah.
When you switch off, you pay the price. And that was exactly what my good friend did.
Malo
Gusto. You see, when the ball is coming from the opposite flank, as a fullback, naturally, when the defenders suck in, you are to follow suit, or else there'll be a huge gap in there. But if you look at that replay again, Thiago Silva, oh my goodness, look, that guy, he's one of the best I have seen. I have had the chance to see top defenders, like the likes of Cannavaro, the likes of Rio Ferdinand,
Nesta.
John Terry, Alexandro Nesta, and Ricardo Carvalho. These are defenders that we enjoy. Even Sergio Ramos in his heydays, very, very brilliant. Puyol and co. Thiago Silva, I think, look, if we are to rank, I think he'll be in the first three. Best three I have seen. He's that good. Even at 39 years, his reading of the game is excellent. His anticipation, he may not be the pacey type of defender, but because he reads the game so well, he tends to deal with every situation. Now, if you go back to that Arsenal second goal, I don't know what Malo Gusto was looking at, because Thiago Silva had Nketiah inside. Normally, if Thiago Silva or if Nketiah was on the blind side of Thiago Silva, that is where you now begin to look at the fullback to come in as the last man and then forget about whoever is behind him. But here was the situation where Edin Nketiah was within sight of Thiago. Thiago could see him and he had him checked.
He nearly scored off that incident.
Exactly. But what Malo Gusto could have done was to look, and I was asking myself, maybe Trossard had just been introduced. So he was used to Martinelli, who on the in-swinger like that will not be targeting the last ball, but will be coming in. So he thought it was still Martinelli, but not knowing. Trossard had located the blind side of it. And look, that Trossard goal was a very difficult finish. He didn't use his left. Technically, he should have gone with his left foot. But rather, he used the right foot and the outside of the foot to just more or less.
I'm still
slaps the ball
at a
to
loss
the back.
as to why he doesn't get as much playing time. I think he's done enough to command a starting place in that Arsenal team. I know it's difficult.
Look, I
trying
think,
to position or shift Martinelli around.
No,
but, hey.
I think he's not in the direct competition with Martinelli. I think that he should be playing as a number 10. But because Odegaard is the captain and he's that good, that is why he's struggling to get into the team. But Mikel Arteta, there were so many games where he should reshuffle and then get him a bit more.
Let's talk about starting Jorginho in this game, because look, I felt like that took a lot out of Arsenal's midfield. They were basically swarmed by Chelsea in that first half. They could barely play the ball out. When Rice got the ball, you could tell that he's not a Thomas Partey. He couldn't dictate tempo. He was always in a hurry to get rid of the ball. Has Jorginho had the impact that Arteta thought he could have when he was bringing him?
Well, last season he did. I felt that last season when he came in, he played really well. He controlled a lot of games. His passing was good. He came up with a winner, you could say, against Aston Villa as well. It was eventually adjudged an own goal. But he was very impressive. Even displaced Thomas Partey at a point in the team. So he did his job. This season, he struggled for game time, and I think that might have affected him. Of course, you need to build yourself into games, have a lot of matches, build chemistry with your teammates, and I don't think he's done that. For this game, starting him in that midfield, I think it was a very bad decision. I felt that even from the start, without knowing which team Chelsea were putting out, you knew that there were going to be a lot of players behind the ball. And you need players who would pass it quickly and not allow the opposition players to get into their positions. Jorginho is not that kind of player. He tends to hold on to the ball, allows the opposition, everyone to get into their spots, and then he makes the pass.
Jorginho is so slow.
He makes a square pass.
That's right.
And even in this game, the square passes were not landing. There were moments where he was just kicking it out of play. It wasn't the typical Jorginho, and I like Jorginho, but this wasn't the game for him. It wasn't a good performance from him either. But quick note on Chelsea as well. At 74 minutes, Chelsea were comfortable, and the Arsenal players were out of it because they weren't even chasing after the ball when Chelsea were passing it around. They were just waiting in the center line. And Sanchez, for some reason, decided to make a lazy pass with his weaker foot to nobody in particular. There was no need for that. And once that goal went in, of course, Chelsea were going to get nervous. The players were going to second guess themselves. Oh, should I move forward? Are we going to get a third goal? Or should I keep the ball? Should I stay in my position? Then they started to draw back. I've always maintained that Raheem Sterling is Chelsea's X factor. And in this game, when he started playing on the left-hand side, it prevented Ben White from joining the attack quite a bit, which meant Bukayo Saka did not have a player to run off of, a player who would take some attention away. And he had a lot of difficulty getting past Kukurea. The moment Raheem Sterling got tired, first of all, he got tired, so he couldn't run back as much. And then the moment he did that, Ben White started pushing forward a little bit, allowing Saka to get onto the ball a lot more, coupled with Kukurea's yellow card, of course. The moment Sterling was taking off, you could see for that second goal, Ben White bombing forward, giving Saka another option, which took one of Kukurea's attention, allowing Saka to move onto his left foot and puts that ball into the box. It was a lot of issues, but of course, coach has spoken a lot about it. The players lost concentration, and you don't do that. You are top-level players playing for a top-level club. You are 2-0 up. You don't give the game away. Even if the first goal went in, at least keep your shape for the next few minutes and then allow your players to just settle back again. They didn't concede the second, almost conceded the third.
Not veterans on the pitch.
Let me just point this out. I nearly forgot. What was Nicholas Jackson doing?
Nicholas Jackson.
I wish we could have seen that chance again, but I don't think we had that sequence.
At the time, it was 2-0.
Yeah. He had a chance to either lob the goalkeeper or round the goalkeeper.
I was as if he was confused.
No, I think that's what he was. He was actually He was
Very
actually caught in
indecisive.
two minds. He didn't know
What do I do?
whether to lob the goalkeeper or to
He
round the
got the
goalkeeper.
ball.
He should be
The
blasting
goalkeeper
the
was
ball in the
up.
back
Just
of the
shoot.
And then
shoot
he
it.
got in front of the goal. Then he decided he was taking the ball even away. I said, look at this man. I couldn't.
I actually could not believe what I was watching.
Mourinho in his heydays would have substituted. I would have changed him again.
You know who finishes that chance for Chelsea back in the day?
Didier Drogba.
Ramirez, the defensive midfielder.
He blasts the ball into the back of even
Man,
Lampard.
that guy was finishing some really like sumptuous
I
chances
couldn't
off.
believe that. Nicolas Jackson,
Yeah.
top striker.
No, you cannot refer to him as a top striker.
No, but within the Chelsea setup.
If he is missing chances like this.
Within the Chelsea setup, I mean, he's the player you want that chance to.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
given.
That was a really disappointing finish.
I was shocked. I couldn't believe what I saw.
Well, let's get to Manchester United. They were up against Sheffield United. Sheffield United were bottom of the league heading into this game. Some way, somehow, they also managed to make this one a really competitive encounter. Ten Hag says that he expected a competitive game all along. Let's check out the highlight. Diego Dalot with the heroics. Really good goal there. Was that a good goal or was that bad goalkeeping?
I think it was bad goalkeeping. You got more than your fingertips on it. You should be saving that. You should have stronger arms, and Foderingham didn't. And he's had a really bad season, conceding lots of silly goals this season.
I think the problem is he did this. If he had done this,
Go with a stronger
one hand normally.
Palm it away.
The goalkeepers who the very good,
Yeah.
the Manuel Neuer, the David De Gea, and they would have gone with one hand and then
Palm it away.
over the bar. But if you do this, you may get there, but it shortens your reach as well. And I think that one hand would have gotten a
stronger.
one
Yeah.
and then over the bar.
Well, but talking point for me on this game is United still seem like they are struggling to control games. They are struggling to create enough chances. They struck the woodwork a few times, but I couldn't help but notice that a lot of those were from distance.
Yeah, and I've already mentioned how United are in the top 3 when it comes to shots on goal, but they dropped to below 8th place when it comes to shots on target. They are being forced to shoot from long range, which of course reduces the chances of scoring. They are being forced to take shots, low chance shots. When they get into positions where they should pass, the players tend to take the shots instead of making the extra pass. And there are a couple of things that worry me about United. First of all, they are not scoring goals. They've scored 11 goals so far this season. Let's go through their goal scorers. 3 for Bruno Fernandes. 3 for Scott McTominay, rather.
Wow.
Who is not considered a starter.
By match day 9, McTominay has 3 goals.
3 goals. 2 for Bruno Fernandes. And then 1 each for Casemiro, Mejbri, Rashford, Dalot, Varane. And Christian Eriksen.
That's interesting.
Fine, the goals are coming from a lot of places, but they are not frequent.
Hoyland has scored, it's in there as well.
No,
he's
not
yet
in the
to
Premier
score in
League.
the league.
Okay, he's not scored
Not
in the league
Premier
yet.
League, yes. And then there are goals coming from a lot of places, but they are not frequent enough. How do you have your striker, Rashford, with 1 goal so far in 9 games? That's unacceptable. Bruno Fernandes has at least chipped in with a couple. Hoyland is yet to score. On the other side, Anthony has not had enough games to score any goal. Sancho, of course, we know his issues. You have Pelestri and Garnacho. No one is getting goals for United. And that is a huge problem for a team that is conceding a lot as well. They've conceded 13 goals, which means a -2 goal difference already this season. That needs to improve if United are going to get any result. The other thing that worries me is the fact that they conceded almost immediately after scoring. And that's been a feature of their season so far. In this game, it was 5 minutes. It was 5 minutes after they got a goal. Against Bayern Munich, they conceded twice after conceding 2 goals against Bayern Munich. And there was the Galatasaray match. They conceded twice after scoring in that match. Against Arsenal, they conceded
Just
90 seconds after scoring. This is a feature of their game. The players don't seem to have a settled mindset after they get goals. It's always they always
get a little overexcited.
Yeah, they have their heads in the clouds after they get a goal. And for a United team that used to be so disciplined under say Alex Ferguson, even under Mourinho, under Louis van Gaal, to be so indisciplined again under Ten Hag, who is supposed to be the disciplinarian. It's very tough to watch, and I think he needs to work on the mentality of these players. It's not looking good.
Let me take a break here. I'll give coach a bit on that United game, what they need to change to get more goals, why they are leaking as many goals in the back as well, and why they always tend to concede after scoring. So there's a lot to unpack with that conversation. Let's take a quick turnaround. We'll come back on Scorecard. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Citi TV. Coach, let's get into the bits about United. I think Edwin highlighted a few of those issues. First of all, the lack of goal scoring. Where does Ten Hag begin to address that? Is it internal? Does he need to buy more strikers? And then talk to me about letting in a lot of goals at the back. Does that have a direct connection with trying to play out from the back through the goalkeeper?
No, I think I will address the second one first. Okay. I think the lack of consistency at the back has caused that. So many changes. And that is one department that you normally will not touch if you are a coach. Your goalkeeper and your established back four.
Okay.
Or back three or back five, whatever you want to call it. Last season, it was Luke Shaw, Martinez, Varane, and Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah.
That was the established back four. As we speak, none of those guys are there. As for Luke Shaw and Martinez, long-term injury.
Yep.
Martinez came back at the start of the season, but still wasn't that fit. Now, Varane, in my view, is the defender I think should be the leader at the back. But again, he hardly stays fit. So the next moment, it is Johnny Evans and it is Harry Maguire. No Manchester United supporter ever
dreamt that this would be the defensive partnership.
Pair. And the fact that Malacia, who could deputize for Luke Shaw, is not there. Reguilon, who came in, has also gotten himself what? Injured. Now, if you look at that back line, Victor Lindelof is trying his possible best. When Amrabat came, the coach felt that he could do a job at left back. But he tried and it didn't work. So he's brought Amrabat to his favorite position.
Yeah.
And I must say that he's doing extremely very, very well. So as for the conceding of goals, it has to do with don't forget, Onana himself is a new goalkeeper working with a completely new set of players.
And his set keeps changing every week.
Exactly. And look, that is one department you want to stick to for weeks. We saw when Chelsea was Chelsea.
Yeah.
When United, there was Ferdinand, there was Vidic, there was Evra, there was Gary Neville, there was Wes Brown. You hardly touch that. The manager could do all the changes, but for his back five, Edwin van der Sar. So they had established chemistry going on for them. So that is why, in my view, I think Man United are conceding too many goals of late. Now, when you go to the lack of goal scorers, Marcus Rashford personally has been very wasteful. Look, we shouldn't be saying Rashford have scored 1 out of 9. We've watched him play.
Yeah.
We've seen the chances he's missed. Even in this game, look at the one he flushed. He missed more or less a setter. All he needed to do was to hit the target. And that ball would have been.
He's missed a lot of those, actually.
He's missed a lot of those. For Bruno Fernandes, he's a midfielder. He's been given the task to do a lot more creativity and assist, which he's done. And at times he will score. And credit must be given to him. Look, the player that has shocked me, in my view, is Scott McTominay. He scored in back-to-back games.
Yeah.
But his biggest problem, you talked about the lack of control. He's not the sort of midfielder you could use to control the game. Look, if Eriksen was 2-3 years younger, then Eriksen, Amrabat, Casemiro, that is going to be a better way of controlling games. But Eriksen, you put him in there, he's not going to win the ball off any opponent. Rather, if you give the ball to him, he will be patient in the build-up.
Shouldn't Amrabat be helping to solve that problem?
That's what he's doing, actually. Because if you look at him yesterday, and since he's been in the team, anytime he's played in midfield, he's controlled the game. He's not rushed it. He's been very relaxed, played simple, and he's passed it forward when he has to. Yesterday, he was Man United best player in passing the ball forward, in holding on to the ball, especially in that second half, in calming everybody down. But like I said, if you're going to be depending on McTominay, if you're going to be dependent, Amrabat needs a partner. Unfortunately, Casemiro didn't play yesterday, and the Casemiro-Amrabat partnership has only played together once. So you may want to say, yes, they are conceding too many goals, but there are genuine reasons why those things are happening. But even although those reasons are genuine, you still have to find a way not to concede. And the best way not to do that is to still compact. How do you tend to concede immediately you put the ball in the back of the net? That is elementary. Every player in that team, it doesn't matter whether you've played together for 20 years or 2 days. You should be smart enough to know that the opponent is going to come at you just when you've winded them. Because if you hit me that hard, I want to do an immediate reply. So it is something that players are told, coaches are told, and Ten Hag has constantly, repeatedly emphasized on that he doesn't understand why they'll continue, because they have been reminded that once you take the lead, sit back for the next 5 to 8 minutes and put yourself in the shape that will make sure you repel whatever is going to be thrown at you. If you cannot do that, you don't blame the coach for that.
I'll tell you what's wrong with Manchester United in that goal conceding situation. When you're not scoring a lot of goals in a season, every goal is over amplified. You tend to celebrate it a lot more. I'm not sure what's going on, because it's cut through in their continental games, it's cut through in their cup games, in their league games. It's just very interesting to note, because
these are experienced players. They know these things. They should know better. Like I've said, when you score, compact yourself and wait.
Yeah, it's just what's not happening for them. Let's get to the Italian Serie A. Torino versus Inter Milan was a good game to witness. Inter Milan really doing well this season. And then we'll check out Napoli versus Verona. Victor Osimhen was not in the picture for Napoli. He is nursing an injury. It wasn't a problem for them. In the end, they won comfortably, 3 points on the board. So back-to-back highlights. We'll come back in studio and discuss. Yes, so Napoli and Inter Milan both winning big. Let's start off with that Inter Milan game. 3-0. Really, they weren't caused any problems at the back. Marcus Thuram doing a really good job there. I'm enjoying him so far. I didn't think they would make it to the top of football like their dad, but they looking pretty good.
I think they have by far the best team in the league. You want to talk about Napoli, but I think the coach leaving has taken something away from Napoli. I think Spalletti was the main reason why Napoli won the league, because he could devise a system that brought the best out of every Napoli player. And the fact that Kim Min-jae, one of the best, I think the best defender in the Serie A last season, has also left Napoli. So he's brought them a bit of imbalance in the back line. And of course, Osimhen too, this season, the coach, he and the coach is not getting on well. But for Inter Milan, look, I'm happy for Thuram. I think he's a very big, powerful player who's beginning to enjoy his football.
Moves really well for somebody that big.
Exactly. The partnership, whoever advised Inter to forget about Romelu Lukaku because he flirted with Juve and get them to go after Thuram to come and partner Lotario. I think that...
They were going to get Folarin Balogun in the beginning.
In the beginning, but whoever told them to go and get Thuram, I think the person has given them a very good advice, because he's built for the Serie A. This is a very powerful, hard-hitting league, tactically the best in the world. But you need players of this strength, of this speed, of this power and technical ability to be able to stand tall in a very difficult league. And since he came to the league, he's really enjoying his football. Inter and AC Milan, I think one of them will win the league this season. Juve may have something to say about, because they just beat AC Milan some few minutes before we came into the studio. And I think that the Italian league, like I've said, will be the most competitive league this season. We may not be sure as to who will win it. I think until we get to the last 6 or 5 games of the season.
Let me read a few messages before I get to Edwin. Adrian from Sakomono says, since coach has ditched United, tell him to join the best club in the world, FC Barcelona. He'll be very happy anytime Barca plays. There are too many scraps in the United team. Lazy and arrogant players, stubborn manager, visionless owners, incompetent PR referees. I think Barca is the right club for him, not Abonkele United. He deserves better. Starboy from La Paz says, Ben, it's just Everton. Why? Don't be too happy with the results because harder fixtures are coming. Jesse from Achimota says that, good evening, Ben and team. Tell coach he will be a better coach than Ten Hag. Jesse with that one. Godwin from Zoom Lion says, Liverpool all the way. You guys are doing a great job. More fire. This one here from P.S. Joshua from Taifa says, good evening, Ben and panel. Man United moving slow but sure. Tell coach we need him back. His loyalty over the years can't be denied. Okay. I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know what you mean by that exactly. Ken Kai from Laboni says the midfield combo of Caicedo and Enzo into brackets Kanzo outclassed Arsenal's midfield will come back stronger. This one here says, I think Grealish has a lot to do because we've all seen what Doku is doing, and as for Ramsdale, he should decide as soon as possible. I'm not sure what you mean by Ramsdale should decide. We'll see. I'll get to a few more of those messages. That's a whole different debate altogether about Ramsdale and Raya, because from what I am seeing, Arteta needs to do some explaining on why he is picking Raya for
Raya
games.
is the better goalkeeper.
Are you sure, coach?
Keepers will make mistakes. He's far better than Ramsdale.
I don't know what you make of
He's
that.
better than him. He's far better.
It's been a very interesting weekend for us, but
He was put in because of his kicking ability.
Yeah.
Now that is in question because teams seem to be targeting him, approaching him a lot. And goal saving wise, shot saving wise, he's no better than Ramsdale. I don't think so. So he's been put under a lot of pressure to show the quality that Arteta put him in there for, and that's not working. I think they are on par right now. Whichever one goes in, it is the same thing.
the value is the same. Let's get to the Bundesliga. Bayern Munich had a pretty routine win this weekend when they were up against Mainz, and then we'll also check out Real Madrid. They were up against Sevilla. Sevilla holding Real Madrid in that particular one. Real Madrid have a Clásico coming up with Barcelona next week. They would have wanted a win, but it didn't happen. So let's get back-to-back highlights of this one. So the Griezmann show there against Celta, hat-trick, just a few goals away from becoming Atletico's all-time goal scorer. That's crazy to think about because they've had some really great goal scorers from Sergio Aguero to Falcao to Diego Forlan. So to be climbing into that echelons, it's very serious business for him. But coach, there's a Clásico next weekend. Real Madrid and Barcelona. Barca winning by 1 goal. Real Madrid drawing their game. Just snap thoughts heading into that one.
Wow, the stage is set. There's only a point separating the two teams, and I think going to their class, I think Real Madrid goes into that as favorite.
They play away from home, though.
Yeah, but they still go into that as favorite because Barcelona, they've not been convincing at all. They've been at times very tight at the back. But going forward, it's like they are being overly reliant on the Portuguese boy, João Felix.
Yeah.
Lewandowski is injured. There's no Pedri.
De Jong is injured.
There's no De Jong. These are the guys that Xavi would prefer to be in that Clásico game, and they are not going to be there. And if you look at what Real are presenting in midfield and in attack, I think they start as favourites.
Edwin?
Look, I completely agree. Barca's injuries definitely makes Real Madrid favourites for the game, but they also have their own concerns. We saw in this game against Sevilla, if they had a proper goal scorer, they'd be winning this game by 4 or 5 goals to nil. That's the number of chances.
I was just about to say that Real Madrid have their own goals. That's why Bellingham has had to rescue them a couple of times.
Bellingham scoring the goals that he were, Real Madrid would be in a difficult position. But at least they are creating lots of chances. Barcelona still seem like a team that struggles to break through teams that are very compact. And I've seen Real Madrid be compact. I've seen them be very offensive. It depends on which formation Ancelotti is going to go into that El Clásico with. But I see Real Madrid as favourites.
Should be interesting. Let me read a few messages to close it out. Sally Al-Hassan from Brekum says, Harry Maguire was man of the match in yesterday's game, silencing his critics. This one here says, good evening, Ben and Pandix. A deserving 3 points for Ten Hag and his guys. Okay, I think I read that one. This one also says that, Coach, your imagination is very real because I took the entire game center and all the Arsenal fans were nowhere to be found until the 2 goals came from Arsenal. I'm not sure what that's about, but the people want you back at Manchester United. Do them the honors, you know. It is.
I have left.
Sometimes radical decisions must be made for change to happen.
Under Glazers and Sir Jim Ratcliffe, I've left.
We'll see what happens. I'm sure I can do a good job of convincing him to come back eventually. But thank you very much, Coach. Thank you very much, Edwin. Thank you to all those who tuned in to watch the show. Thank you all those who tuned in to send us messages as well. Same time next week, Scorecard will be back on your screens.